Can you believe it? It happened again. We received an email to advertise for something very dodgy. It's an online store that sells old refurbished laptops. If you spend just 30 seconds researching their prices, you'll know how horrendously bad they are. This is probably the worst place to buy a laptop. And the fact that they're in business, it tells us that people are being ripped off. So, you know how we roll here. We aren't going to take money to sell something that we don't stand by. We vet our partners thoroughly. And instead of taking their money, we're going to turn this into a warning video on nefarious refurbished sellers that you absolutely need to watch out for.
As Josh said, we immediately started seeing red flags the moment we opened their site. Take this MSI Raider on sale for $1,650. Its CPU and GPU are 5 years old. You could buy a brand new gaming laptop for that cost, and it would perform so much better. But wait, this older one has 32 gigs of RAM, which may trip some people up and fool them into thinking this is a better performing machine. This worries me, as it is certainly not a better performing laptop than this current generation Strix G16 with a Ryzen 9HX processor and a 5070 Ti that costs $50 less. Here, take a look at the difference in their performance benchmarks. The 5070 Ti Strix literally performs over twice as well in TimeSpy, nearly 18,000 versus 8,000. But you gotta jump on this great deal on a 5-year-old laptop for 1.7 grand, as there's only one left. Even if you need 32 gigs of RAM, there are still much better options in this price range. Here's a brand new HP Omen from last year that has an RTX 4070. It's even cheaper than either of these and would obviously still crush the MSI Raider being sold at Discount Electronics. To prove our point, we are showing you results from the Predator with the same CPU and GPU as that Omen. This MSI Raider is a horrible deal, and I'm really worried that they are taking advantage of people's lack of knowledge in this space. Which brings me to my next point. The MSRP on this listing is $47.99. They are trying to convince you that you're getting a major discount here when you are absolutely not. The first laptop Josh and I think of with an MSRP of around $5,000 is the ridiculously powerful MSI Titan 18HX. That one comes with an RTX 5090, a current gen Intel HX processor, 64 gigs of RAM, a beautiful 4K screen. You get the point. It would eat this laptop for breakfast. Of course, if you're looking at this website, you probably aren't in the market to spend $5K, but still, this is a crazy fake MSRP. It's very deceptive. Even at the time this laptop came out, it wasn't selling for more than $3,000. This is a good time to remind you that if you're just looking for a good deal, refurbished may not always be the way to go. A 5 to 7-year-old computer has more wear and tear, the hinge could be failing over time like many older MSI laptops, and who knows what state the battery is in. That degrades over time. It also will not get software and driver updates for as long as a newer machine would. Next, we'll go over what are the most common on these refurb websites, which are business computers. These usually end up in the hands of resellers through business liquidations, which, as I'm sure you can piece together, means these laptops are also very old. I don't know about you, but when Josh and I worked in a corporate setting, they don't change your laptop that frequently. You might have the same laptop for 3 to 5 years, which means the computers being liquidated are extremely out of date. A laptop this old isn't the biggest deal to everyone, but you really shouldn't spend more than a few $100s on it. First, I found the HP EliteBook 840 from 2 different websites, Backmarket and PC Liquidations. This is a business laptop with a 6-year-old low-powered processor from Intel's 10th gen. Despite their similar specs, Backmarket is charging $420, while PC Liquidations is charging almost $700. That is ridiculous for such an old refurbished laptop. For $420, you can find a brand new laptop with a 13th gen processor, and for $700, you could buy a current gen laptop with a Ryzen 5 processor. You can see here that these chips are both way better than this 10th gen one. In fact, the 6-year-old i5 is so slow that it performs similar to a very cheap laptop from Chewy with an Intel N100 processor. Josh used that laptop for a week, and everything you do on it requires a lot of patience. Well, if you thought buying a laptop with a 10th gen CPU was outdated, don't worry. Here's a 9th gen from 7 years ago. Discount Computer Depot are selling a Dell Precision 5540 with an Intel 9th gen i7 and a Quadro T2000 graphics card. If you tried to price match somewhere, like I did, you'd have a difficult time finding something similar for sale because it's a business laptop that's no longer available. So it's hard to tell if this is a decent deal or a crappy one. However, if you knew how old this laptop was, you'd know that you can get a much better laptop with more powerful graphics for $600. I recently made a video on buying a laptop with a dedicated GPU at this exact price point. I'll link it below. The summary is that these laptops do exist with current-gen components that are much more powerful. You just need to shop sales, of which there are plenty, refurbished or open box. We would not consider these workstation laptops a good deal for the woeful performance you're getting. An even worse example is this Precision 7750 with a better graphics card selling for $1,650 from Discount Electronics. The same model is on sale at Walmart for $610 from a third-party seller. That's a 170% markup for what is still a 5-year-old laptop. There is no way you couldn't find something with updated specs with better performance for $1,600, or even around $600, like I said. Don't worry though, instead of old, you could also get a new laptop and overpay for that. You can see this here on this ThinkPad being sold for $800 more than on Lenovo's own site. They are charging $300 more than the current MSRP from the manufacturer. For some reason, they even removed the OS to make it an even worse value. Yes, this is a spec'd up version of this laptop, but even that can't save it here. And just so you know, I did match the specs exactly before comparing these prices. Now, we don't have time in this video to go over every egregious price on these websites, and of course, not all of them are atrocious, but it's enough of them that we are very concerned for shoppers here. I think I've sufficiently covered the issues in the Windows space, so I'm gonna let Josh close us out with some of the horrible MacBook prices.
Thanks, Sierra. In the MacBook space, it's a little more interesting. You see, when M-series MacBooks came out, they were years ahead of Windows laptops with Intel or AMD. This is one of the reasons that older MacBooks with an M-series processor hold their value so well in the second-hand market. They were just so well ahead of their time. This means there are situations where an older MacBook is worth what some of these sites are actually charging. We found that Backmarket offered reasonable deals on M-series laptops. For example, here's a MacBook Pro 16 with an M1 Pro chip and 32GB of memory from 2021. Honestly, given you're getting a 30-day return window and a 1-year warranty, it's reasonable. But before you think that Backmarket is one of the good guys, it really isn't if you're shopping for a Windows laptop. Here's a Surface Laptop 513 with an Intel processor from 4 years ago for $1,500, reduced from an incredibly, absolutely made up $3,800 MSRP. Anyway, back on MacBooks. Discount Electronics and PC Liquidations continue to be horrifically bad. Here's a MacBook Pro 15 from 2019 for $775. Before you think that price isn't bad, might I remind you that that MacBook was when Apple's laptops absolutely sucked. It has a super old Intel processor, the dreadful butterfly keyboard which was notoriously uncomfortable and broke all the time, and the hated touch bar. For the price of this laptop, I bought a brand new MacBook Air 13 with an M3 chip, 16GB of memory and 512GB of storage from Amazon. My little MacBook Air 13 is more than twice as fast in single core and almost twice as fast in multi-core. And I guarantee you it lasts a hell of a lot longer on battery. Now, if you thought that was bad, hold on to your knickers because what I'm about to show you is the worst deal I've ever seen on a laptop. And guys, I've seen some pretty bad ones. From PC Liquidations, we bring you that same MacBook Pro 15, but this time 2 years older for $2,100. It's not even their grade A condition either, it's grade B, meaning it's showing more signs of use. Guys, for that price, you can literally buy a brand new current-gen MacBook Pro 16 with an M4 Pro processor. That laptop is around 4 times as fast in single core and 6 times as fast in multi-core. It will also feel significantly cooler to the touch, have less fan noise, and so much more battery life it isn't funny. Now, if you truly have your heart set on buying a 2017 i7 MacBook Pro 15, and I have no idea why, don't worry, we got you covered. You can buy a similar spec laptop from Walmart for $250. PC Liquidations is charging 740% more than the seller on Walmart. It's insane, you just don't see that every day. Now, we did reach out to the marketing person who originally contacted us about Discount Electronics. You see, we wanted to know why their prices were so ludicrously high. We wanted to just give them the benefit of the doubt. Were we missing something? And here's what they responded with. Nothing. So we tried again, and we tried to ask the same question via their live chat. Same response, nothing. But this time, they did add us to their mailing list completely without our consent. So, where does this leave us? If you're buying a very old refurbished laptop, there are huge risks. You absolutely must do research into what you're buying. Try and find a review from a reputable reviewer and look at what date that review was published. That way you know how old the laptop is. If you can't find one, Geekbench has a database that you can look up performance scores of the CPU in these older models. This should at least give you a good comparison of how they perform to newer ones. The general rule of thumb, though, is to buy from an established retailer and do your best to either avoid third-party sellers completely or do the research I just mentioned. When it comes to the ones that we looked at, I wouldn't touch PC Liquidations, Discount Electronics, and Discount Computer Depot with a 10-foot barge pole. Backmarket was okay for M-series MacBooks, but terrible for Windows laptops. Look, both of us hope we gave you a laugh, but we also truly hope we help some people out, avoid what could be a very costly mistake. And if you know anyone like that, send them this video. And if you want to find actual good deals on laptops, then definitely check out our website bestlaptop.deals, especially that crazy deal section. Many of the laptops there cost less than these refurbished ones, and they're far better, and they're also new. Our site, it is operated by people who just genuinely care about you getting a good deal. We scan prices right across retailers to show you these deals. We highlight when a laptop's price makes it a good or even great deal, and you can now even set custom price drop notifications to try to catch a killer one. Till next time, go do something awesome with your day, and we will catch you later.